everybody, and welcome to another version of Bill Roden on Sports. I'm Bill Roden at an undisclosed location in upstate New York. You know, don't want to, that's got to keep us a step ahead of the posse. Here with a very special guest. It's really been really wonderful to have her on the show. We'll introduce her in a minute. Further, I want to acknowledge my friend and partner, the great Jamal Murphy, who's holding it down in Brooklyn. Murph, what's going on?
What's up, Bill? Same old here in Brooklyn. You know, run around from youth sporting event to youth sporting event. But besides that, everything's good.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little break. Normally we give the people red meat and we talk football or whatever the sports of the day is, but we're going to do something totally different today. We're going to talk soul food and nourishment. I mean, we always use the term soul food, but we actually have a guest on our show, the great Tommi Vincent, who actually, her whole thing is soul food, nourishing the soul. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. She's she just completed a wonderful book, and want to have her on to talk about it. So I want to welcome the wonderful Tommi Vincent to the show. Tommi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bill and Jamal. And I could give y'all some red meat. So,
I still like red meat. I can't lie.
I know you want red meat. We'll give you red meat. I am a chef, by the way. Okay, well, let's see how this rolls. Okay. Yeah. So Tommi just author of the book, The Table of Life, Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. And, I really don't know where to start. We have so many entry points. Obviously, I've known Tommi and the family for a while. I've known her husband, Troy Vincent, who is the executive vice president of football operations for NFL. And I've known Troy for decades. And of course, because of Troy, I met Tommi and their wonderful family, 5 children. Now, I don't know what the roster is of grandchildren. I don't know how many.
11.
11. Wow. 11 grandchildren. Yikes. Yikes. I'm a rookie. I just had my first grandchild. I'm like, what 11 grandchildren? What are their ages from when to when?
So the baby of the bunch is 4 months, and then the oldest, she is 15, so all in between there.
Wow. So again, there's so much I want to catch up on you about, but your experiences have been just so incredible. But let's start from the top. I think let me see where can we start? Well, let me just start you. So your thing has been food for a long time, as long as I've known you. In fact, I do these jazz listening sets, and Tommi was gracious enough to cater one of my listening sets. This was, I don't know how many years ago, but it was a few years ago. And Tommi cooked, and the meal was delicious. They're still talking about it. But I guess I know you've been open about a lot of stuff in your personal life, and so the food was delicious. But then I asked you also brought a tune to play, and the tune just knocked me out. And the way these listening sets go, Jamal, is that you'll bring a couple tunes to play, and then you'll talk about why you chose that tune, and then you kind of play the tune. We listen, it's great. So Tommi's tune was by the great Rachel Ferrer, and it was what did you just send it to? My prayer.
It was Prayer Dance.
Prayer Dance. It was Prayer Dance. Wonderful tune. And then Tommi proceeded to talk about why she chose that tune. And I'm like, man, she talked about a lot of personal stuff like abuse, domestic abuse, depression, how she came out of it. And it was just like, I was like, wow, so why don't we start there, Tommi? Why did you write this book? And you said a few times how food saved your life. So why don't you can take it in any direction you want, why you finally chose to write a book like this, A Recipe for Life. And how food saved your life.
Mhm. So the Table of Life, nourishing the soul with food, love, and faith, is a book designed so that when the reader reads it, that they have an opportunity to learn how to build their table one dish at a time, utilizing all of the ingredients of their life. Because I'm demonstrating that as I tell stories about my life, from as young as 3 year olds old until I matriculate to where I am today. And for me, it's important to be transparent and to share those aspects of my life. Having my daughter at 12 years old,
Yeah,
being in an abusive relationship, and going through my bout of depression, because I believe people don't talk enough. And
right.
so we walk around and we tuck life away, and then we show up in spaces and we're never fully present. We don't fully maximize our potential because we're leaving the greatest assets we have outside the door. I'm the woman I am today because of those experiences. And the very things I thought were my disqualifiers are my qualifiers. And I want to bring the book to actually some of the subject matter that you all talk about. You talk about, sports. And I'm a woman who was married to Troy Vincent, who played 15 years in the National Football League, who's been an executive at the National Football League for over 15 years. And the table that I prepared, the table that I set for my family, has been extremely nourishing for him. And it gives him a place of peace. It gives him a place of um, sustenance that's necessary for him to be successful like he is today.
Yeah. So, what I just say, what was the first dish you prepared for him?
For Troy,
Yeah, what was the first dish? I mean, because you were married. I think you were 19, and I think he was 22 when you guys
yes,
got married, which is
yes,
pretty unbelievable. 1994, I think. Is that it?
that's correct. So we've been married for over 31 years. And
Unbelievable.
the very first meal I made for him, it was actually a box of hamburger helper and breadsticks, some breadsticks that came out of a can.
Wow.
And it was, while it was processed, because it was 100% processed, it was served with all of my love, and I made him a salad. And I just knew early on in our relationship, one, Troy had a grandmother who loved him and nourished him through food. So I knew that that was important to him. And it also was an environment that I grew up in as well, where the table was everything. And so I wanted to make sure I brought that to our relationship. And so now, even as we progress with our 5 children, 11 grandchildren, all of my children can cook. All of our occasions together, we are doing it very intentionally, breaking bread and sharing our legacy inspired recipes. And it has become this place where we're able to do our pulse checks, looking at each other and understanding, is everyone okay? Right? I was in a place where I was not okay. And we didn't have the language, we didn't have the tools to be able to even understand what was taking place with me, or I should say, I did not have those tools. And now that I've had my experience, I bring that knowledge to the table with my family, and I'm able to look and do that pulse check to make sure no one needs any resuscitation.
Yeah, I think the way that you laid this book out is so clever, because what it basically is all the ingredients for a successful life or to heal. I mean, it'd be like if I could go to Whole Foods and I could get ingredients. Okay, I need this ingredient for healing. That's aisle three. Or I need this ingredient for self confidence. That's aisle four. Oh, wait a minute. So I really love the way that you laid this book out, the ingredients for life. I mean, and you do recipes, but uh, how did you, it's so clever. How did you come about that? Because the whole book is a metaphor for uh, ingredients for whatever it is you need in your life. How did you decide to structure the book like that?
So the book really mirrors me and how I move through life. Even when I wrote the book was for me. And
Mhm.
then I now am in a position to share that with people because I documented it and I've made it available to the public. And so I've taken all the aspects of not all, but most of the aspects of who I am, and I'm a coach. So in the book, I'm sharing coaching. In the book, I'm sharing my story, because my story is the piece that qualifies me. For a very long time, I did not believe that, but today I know that to be true. And I share the coaching and I share the recipes, because what we're doing, and there's a recipe at the end of each chapter, is
Right.
we're building this table as we progress, one dish at a time. And those ingredients demonstrate, while ingredients may not taste good separately, when you bring them all together, they create a masterful dish. And then when you have enough ingredients, you can make more dishes. And then you create this table that is bountiful and full of plenty of nourishment. So now not only do I have enough for myself, but I also have an opportunity to pull up some more chairs and invite other people to be nourished as well.
When was it that you started to understand that cooking was more than food? It was more. It had way more significance than just people eating and for out of necessity. Like when did you realize that for you and maybe just in general that cooking is so much deeper than that?
I learned that as I was progressing through my therapy sessions, because I kept having these visions of my Nana Edie in her kitchen. And I thought about her life. I considered what I knew were our experiences based off of what I was experiencing as a little girl. And yet, she had this place in her kitchen that when she was doing what she was doing, it was so much peace. And I come from a line of family members, and we have a reputation for throwing down. So
Right.
for me, cooking was just, hey, this is just what we do. And then in therapy, what I realized, no, it's not just something we do. There's a gifting here, there's an anointing here. And so cooking is a place that we operate in, that when we get people to our table, we can change their life. It's not just about the food for the belly, but it's the food for the soul that comes out of the dishes that we prepare. And so in therapy, I saw that. And so I started cooking my way through healing, and I call it soul food therapy.
Mm. Yeah. One of the things I love about you and Troy is your partnership, and you've turned this whole food thing, into a not an enterprise, but also a philosophy, a philosophy. Let's Vincent Country. I still got my candle over here from what I was saying, Vincent Country can, and just tell us about one of my most favorite things about the Super Bowl is what you guys do, and maybe you could explain that. Maybe Jamal might get an invite this year.
Yeah, please, I'll take it.
Yeah, but I think that's, to me, one of the most enjoyable things about the Super Bowl is what you guys do each year. That's around food. Could you explain that a little bit about how you adopt a school and then the dinner afterwards? It really encapsulates everything that you guys are about.
Yeah, so we have an activation, a program that we do through our nonprofit organization, Love Thy Neighbor, and it is called Vincent Country Safe Zone. And we partner with the school every year in the Super Bowl city, and that partnership looks like working with the leadership at the school to identify what does this leadership need to really bring their vision to pass for the students. And so they put together a wish list that we work in securing all of those items and the necessary resources to make sure that we're able to do that. We do a mural at the school. And we also do professional development for the teachers and staff and faculty there, along with the leadership at the school. And then after we see all of those things that are necessary, we get on the ground. And the Tuesday before the Super Bowl, we have our Vincent Country Safe Zone Activity Day, which we take over the school for the entire day with NFL legends and NFL players and all of our partners. And we create this space where kids can be kids. That's very important to Troy and I. We both had some teachers in elementary school. Mine was Miss Conti, was Miss Valentine, who really made a difference in our life. And we believe were instrumental in changing the trajectory of our life. And so we invest in the schools, we invest in the students, and we believe that we are a bridge to better. Part of that activation is then going to our Breaking Bread with the Vincents, where we have an opportunity to really celebrate the school leadership and honor our partners for, just really coming alongside of us and making this work possible.
Hmm. Yeah. Last year in New Orleans, there was a great event. All the events are great. I mean, every single event is great, and the food is just spectacular. How has that concept changed? Well, before that, I think let's get back to this whole idea of you using the table, because I think that's the best thing about all this is how you've always used the table and food to bring people together. That is always a central version of that. Why is that? And I was thinking about the story you were telling at the beginning when I think when you were 3 years old, that's when you cooked your first dish. Was it farina?
Yes.
Farina. Farina. I think you said that was your first dish. You were 3 years old. You wanted breakfast, and you clawed over the table and you cooked farina, and that was the beginning. There was such, but when you talked about some of the domestic abuse you saw, did you grow up in your early years? Was the table what it became in your life? Was your family like that? Everybody come to the table and talk, or did you begin to create that because of maybe you didn't have it when you were like 3, 4, 5, 6?
We've always had the table in my family, a version of the table in my family. And so what I was able to do is take my experiences from growing up and recognize that there was so much more power in the table if we utilized it as this opportunity that I talk about with our ability to do a pulse check. Food is not just a universal language that is spoken across the entire globe. It is a necessity for people to be nourished. We need to be fed. Like we need food to survive and to live and to thrive. And so when we're doing any and everything, it's such a huge part of a tool that has worked for me personally and it has worked for my family. That everywhere we go, we find a way to get everybody to the table. That's not always me cooking, but we will get to a table and we will make sure that we have an opportunity to break bread so that we can humanize one another. We can create a safe space where people really feel like they could just breathe, take off the mask, take off the titles, and just show up and let's have some good food together and have some good conversation.
Hmm.
In that story, where you said you were 3 and you cooked your first meal, it struck
Quote
me that
unquote meal.
you mentioned that you had seen your older sister doing the same thing. You kind of learned from your older sister, and I'm wondering like what significance that played, in you cooking in terms of like older siblings. Like how many older siblings did you have? It's like with my own kids. I have like an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I always the 6-year-old is doing stuff like that, right? He's earlier. He's trying things and trying to cook things earlier than his older brother was. So I'm wondering if that's the same dynamic for you.
So I have three older siblings, and yes, the very first thing I made was farina. And because I was the proof of concept, all of my children started cooking at 3 years old. I got them in the kitchen. So all of my children, all five of them can throw down as well.
Right.
So like that is it's 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 beautiful. If you ever saw us all in the kitchen together, it is a sight to be seen because we just know our way around that kitchen and we get it done. So the other thing about the farina, and this is something that just happened. So Troy and I are 2 years now into being empty nesters. Our kids are in their third year of college, and that very first meal I made with my sister, that I saw my sister Sharice making, that farina, it really became this like a comfort meal. We ate so much hot cereal growing up, like it was a delicacy. And so when my kids went to college, I was eating farina, because I still buy it. It was two. We had farina and mapo. I was eating farina every single day for the longest when they left. And my kids were like, you need to, like, what is going on? You need some groceries. You need some,
Right.
you need some money. What is happening? And so I just realized a month ago, the reason why I was doing that is because it was comfort. And I was sad because I was missing my twins. And so even food is like a barometer where you can tell like where somebody is and what is taking place in their life. And I tell my family now, because cooking is what I call a weapon of warfare for me. If I stop cooking, if I'm not slinging them pots and, making them do what they do, you need to check in with me because
Mm,
something is off, something is amiss, because the very thing that gives me life, I'm not able to tap into.
mm, mm. What are it's so funny you mentioned that. I started bonding with my grandson around spaghetti and meatballs. They came to visit, and so we were at the restaurant, and I ordered spaghetti, and all of a sudden he reached into my plate and took the spaghetti. So I started feeding him spaghetti, strand by strand, and I eat it, he devour it, and then he looked. You're always looking for like he's into it, and he reached and I give him another one, and then he say more. And I gave him, and so just kind of like you, all of a sudden I became obsessed with spaghetti because it reminded me of him.
That's
You
right.
know, and every time I see him now, we'll order spaghetti. That's kind of like our thing. So you're right. There's always been this. I guess we all have it. This psychological thing we have with food. But what is it? What is it about? I want to ask you. So, in terms of food, what's your favorite vacation? What's to you is the best food vacation? Is it Thanksgiving? Is it Christmas? Is it Juneteenth? Is it what am I missing? I don't Easter. I kind of dismiss that. But what's your most favorite food holiday?
I would say, so I have two, and it's for different reasons. With Troy playing in the league and now Troy working at the NFL, holidays are not traditional for us because he's always working.
Right.
So Thanksgiving is never on Thanksgiving for us. We always identify a time to gather as a family. Um, when it works with his calendar. And so that may mean it could be the weekend before, where our son is at Nebraska coaching, where we're saying, okay, let's all meet in Nebraska. We'll go to a game and we'll have dinner. Or when our son was playing with Ohio State, we would meet in Ohio State. So it's always been different, and it's always been around sports.
Mm,
So our celebration isn't about the holiday. It's about, this is our opportunity to gather all together.
mm,
And the menu is extensive, and it is, the memories that we've created around these opportunities together have been things that my children will remember. Just like your grandson, if you keep that tradition going, he'll never look at spaghetti and meatballs ever the same. He'll always see you, and those memories will play in his mind. But the time we get together, that is my most favorite time, is everyone usually has off, around that 4th of July holiday, where they'll get like a week off. The league office has a week off. And so our family, we have a place in North Carolina where we all gather. And every day is someone else's responsibility to prepare a meal for the entire family. And so that is my favorite time of the year. And this year we had we had a player and his spouse there with us that were spending the time with us. And so it was over 30 people at the house.
wow.
And his wife was like, when she got there, she was like, how are they going to feed all of these people? And she said, and there was never a shortage of food. There was always more than enough food. And that was even with my 20-year-olds being responsible for cooking for all 30 people, because
Wow.
that's what we do. We throw down.
Right.
Wow.
I gotta stop by your house sometime. Um, let me let me ask you, go back to the table thing. It's and how important it is. It has been for you and that and all that. And then we're in this new day and age where parents on the go more, kids with devices, so I feel like less families are really having that table time, like dinner at the table every night, and no distractions, and just talking to each other. What's your opinion on that, and how, and if that is, the importance of that now?
It's disheartening to me, because we're missing out on time and opportunity that we will not be able to recapture. Additionally, what we're missing from this is the ability to understand what you're eating and what's in your food. Because the more we eat out, every time you outsource that part of your life, you don't know what people are putting in your food. So we
Right.
are impacting our mental health, we are impacting our physical health, and I believe, should be prioritizing ways to connect with the people that we love and we care about. Listen, this world is hard, and we have to find ways that we can come into the four walls of our homes and say what we want to say, you know, say nothing if we don't want to say nothing, but a space where we can just feel the love and nourishment from one another. I think that is beyond important during this time, especially that we're living in right now.
Hmm. What's Tommy Vincent's comfort food? I always want to ask the chef that. I mean, because you have so many tons of food that you cook every year. You mentioned farina as a comfort food.
Mhm.
What's your go-to comfort food?
So I love greens. I love collard greens.
Ah,
I don't need any meat in them, but I do. I like. I know now people are saute them and they like cook them fast. No, I want the collard greens that's been cooking from the morning until we having dinner late in the afternoon, and it just, the flavor develops so, and it just reminds me of my both of my grandmothers, my Nana Edie and my Nana Claudia. Like, there's something about greens that just really does it for me. And so I actually make them often.
mm.
Right, and I was going to ask you about that, because one of the chapters is Superwoman, and you have collard greens under that. So explain that, the connection between woman, and collard
Mhm.
greens.
So the Superwoman chapter is all about, girl, get rid of that cape. Man, get rid of that Superman cape. Like, that is a one of the terms I use for myself in the book is a self-aggrandized martyr. There's so many hard things I've experienced in life and no one asked me to. They were all of my choices. And so the idea is to get rid of that cape. There's no need for me to be that for anyone, under no circumstances. And the collard greens, right? When you go and they're picked, they're filled with bugs. They often are tough. When they're fresh, they're tough. They got the stem down the middle. And so the ability to break that down, they cook, they're still sturdy, right? They're still sturdy, but they also can be tender. And I consider myself to be, I'm strong and I am proud of that aspect of who I am. I am resilient. Collard greens can take a beating in the weather, resilient. But when they're treated with the proper love and care, they can become tender. And that to me represents who I am as a person.
Mm.
Mm. What about the wait is over? How does that? I mean, like I said, each one is clever. But let's tell, since we're getting to the etymology of each chapter. What about the wait is over?
So the weight is over is talking about the weight of words.
Mm,
And when you are developing through life, sometimes people give us these words. They tell us who we are, they tell us who we're not. And those words begin to create a weight on us that becomes too much to bear. And those words create darkness. Where light words, words that are life giving, words that cause you to call you higher and pull you forward, those are light words. So not only do they release the burden and the of expectations, they also light your pathway and give you
mm.
direction and help you go where you need to go so you can become who you've been created to be.
Ah, the way to
And
go
and
after the
and what about walking in the light, sweet potato pie? Now
oh
that
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I could guess. It seems like, oh, sweet potato pie. This is like, like is that explain that one?
Yes. So one, sweet potato pie is my favorite dessert.
Ah,
It
okay.
is my favorite dessert, and my Aunt Darlene, she actually taught me how to make sweet potato pie. But the ability to walk in light is an essential part of our healing, because when you're used to making your way through the darkness, your eyes adjust and you accept this is where I belong. At some point in time, we have to get to the place where, and the next chapter, I believe, after that is, somebody turned the light on, and um, the ability to go from the seeing the light and then actually the light turning on is critical to our development and our healing as human beings. And when you live, my whole life feels like I've been living in a pressure cooker
Hmm.
my entire life, from when I was a little girl, when I first learned love, witnessing a relative being abused, to even now today, as my husband has this high profile career. I have children who are navigating life and trying to figure things out. And I am also navigating my career and looking to figure things out for myself. I have to remember that there's always a light present in my life. And when light shows up in darkness, the light overtakes the darkness. Darkness cannot exist in darkness,
Hmm.
right? I mean, let me rephrase that. Darkness cannot exist where there's light, because the
Hmm.
light immediately takes that darkness away. And so that's what that's about. Getting to this place where we recognize, even in our darkest days, look for the light, because there was a light present. There was something in that moment that you can take forward that is really essential to who you are and how you've been created to be.
Mhm.
Hmm. Wow, this is pretty deep. The book is The Table of Life: Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. Just maybe last before we there's so much I want to ask you. We actually have to bring you back. Do you have any signings or tours or things coming up that well, I guess we have to ask you. People, I imagine, could buy the book online, Amazon. It's in bookstores. Where can people see you, hear you, the whole thing?
So you can find me on at Chef Tommi Tommiv on all social media as well. I have a website, which is TommiTommiv.com. You can purchase the book. We're pre-ordering right now. The book actually publishes November 4th. You can
Okay.
pre-order on Amazon or on Barnes and Noble. I actually have an event coming up in New York on October the 11th at the IBIO Supper Club with Chef Tayo. And I've been doing a tour. Different women have been opening up their home, and I've been hosting the Table of Life dinner series, which has been phenomenal. But I want to say this because I know y'all going into your next segment, and you're going to be, talking about Russell Wilson. If I may, can I say something?
Please.
Please, please.
This is what I want to say. I've been in this world for a very long time, meaning this sports world of, from my husband to my sons. And it is brutal.
It is brutal.
And people don't think about what it means when something like what's happening with Russell Wilson, they're not thinking about his wife, they're not thinking about his children, but they are the ones who are left to pick up the pieces.
Hmm.
She is the one left to encourage him and to give life to him. And while that may not be important to everybody else, I ended up where I was at because of the weight I was carrying for carrying a man who is exceptional in everything that he does, for carrying children who are exceptional in everything that they do. And so, I just sometimes just wish that, even look, they're it's an honor to be where they are, but I wish people would see them as human beings first, and then they see the accolades and even their disappointment in they didn't do X, they didn't do Y, they didn't make the play, or whatever the case may be. It is a weight to carry for everyone that loves that person, and an even greater weight for that person to carry it themselves.
Yeah, Tommy, that's such a great point, because we think of athletes, entertainers, these cartoon characters,
Mm-hmm.
that they don't hurt, they don't, like, Troy's been what 5 or 6 teams, and people just say, "Oh, you trade," but you don't think, well, wait a minute, that's a whole family having to move, or somebody getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
We just think,
Fired publicly. You ain't getting
yeah,
fired in private.
Right,
Everybody know you get fired.
right.
right, right. Seeing the guys booed and all that, but we think, I guess it's because it's the entertainment industry, we just kind of dismiss it. Well, they don't care, or well, they get paid. They get paid, $20 million. So some kind of way that mitigates the fact that you've been your whole thing has been discussed publicly. So I think you raise a great point that we don't really think about the family. We don't think about the children. So that's really a wonderful point. Um, I wanted to ask you something else. I know I keep on that. Well, the two last things. One, and you talk about your relationship with Troy, and I was thinking this book is as much of a love story as it is a recipe book. It's really about a young couple, a black couple, and I don't care what people say. Whenever you see a black person who has made it in this society, it's been like they'd had to work 3 times as hard. It means 3 times as much, because none of us are supposed to have survived. The idea that none of us are supposed to have gotten to this point sane, that's not how this society works. So you know, whenever we get to this point, in fact, I was talking about this with James Winston about Russell, how we need to really honor each other more, because it's a miracle. It's virtually a miracle when you see an African American who's like 60 and is still got his or her wits about him, because the shit was not supposed to be like that. You and how did you survive this?
Right.
by grits, by farina, by
Right.
by collard. That's by the yams.
Right.
Oh man! Hey, just one last thing. Anything you want to leave us? Oh, I know. What must you have in your kitchen? Like, what's your go-to? What things must your kitchen have? If you walk into a kitchen, what must you have?
And then I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah,
So I have
we're
a
gonna
spoon.
turn this into a cooking show.
I have a spoon. It's called it's my love spoon, and my daughter Desiree actually gave it to me when I was experiencing my bout of depression, and she didn't know. No one knew I was experiencing depression. I didn't share it for a very long time. And so I always travel with my love spoon. So it doesn't matter if I'm going into another kitchen, my love spoon is in my bag. And I love my cast iron skillet. That
Ah,
is a tradition. So I keep that with me at all times.
and it doubles. Cast iron scary have multiple purposes.
Oh, yeah.
That's Al Green.
Oh man. I can't promote that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely not, Jamal. Absolutely not.
I don't want to be in that cross.
Absolutely not.
But
Black love.
yeah, that's real right there. What makes a good cook? What makes a good cook?
A good cook comes from their understanding that they are responsible for putting love in every dish. It is not a task. Feeding people is not a task. And when you feel like it's like a task and just something you have to do, it's going to be missing the key ingredient of love. So when I am cooking food, I am literally putting my heart and soul in the dishes because I want people to experience my love on the plate. And we talked about how the Jamal, you asked a question about the missing the gathering around the table and, you know, kids moving all around. Another piece that we're missing out on in all of this is our ability to keep heirloom recipes moving forward.
Mm.
Our families get to meet their ancestors by the dishes we put on the table. And when we stop doing that, we are losing an intricate heirloom that should be being passed down from generation to generation.
Mm.
That's great. I'm gonna start asking for recipes from my mom and everything. That's great.
Yeah.
And then
What's
finally, obviously this is a sports show, and you've raised athletes. Like you said, your husband's obviously big time athlete. What I don't what special does someone have to do in term when they're raising athletes or when they're taking care of athletes? What's different about how you cook?
So I didn't step out of who I was to cook something special for them. It was, you know, we had 5 kids and not all of them played sports. So they got what I was cooking. You know, at the end of the day, it's no different than you growing up and your food is in front of you. You're going to eat that, you're going to be hungry.
Right.
so, and
Right.
so for me, it was just really about preparing food that I made. So food from scratch is important to me, has always been important to me. And they weren't on special diets. So their bodies were conditioned to survive off of the sustenance that I prepared.
Mm.
Mm. Do you still cook as much as you did? I noticed. I mean, you have staff now. Do we still get? I'm still getting the Tommi Vincent college, or am I getting the college of like her staff? I mean, how much cooking? How much
Well,
cooking?
her family,
Yeah, well, you
So,
don't
so
have
I
staff for your family, right?
no, please. So one, Bill, so when you're coming to the Breaking Bread with the Vincents at the Super Bowl, I intentionally identify a chef that is local to that community. And I
Yeah,
bring them in because I want to introduce them to the room.
yeah,
So I collaborate with them on coordinating the menu, and then we have a team to help us prepare all the food for the guests that attend. So that's what you're saying. But you won't ever see me being a part of anything where you're not going to feel my handprint on a situation and you're not going to experience my love on a plate.
yeah, yeah. The young lady in New Orleans was just so happy. It was she was just so earnest because you introduced her, but you could just tell this was like her moment, and she was really, really into it. I really
Mm.
appreciate that about you guys. You're very, I don't know how I should say this, but you're very Afrocentric. You're in this environment now where anybody who's pro Afrocentric, is kind of under suspicion. You know, but
it's always been like that, Bill. So.
yeah, it's probably always been like that. But I always appreciate, that you guys are very conscious of that, of promoting people, whether it's the schools, the chefs, or whatever. So I really appreciate you guys for that. Anything that you like to leave us? Well, what maybe your favorite? Because I don't want to get into the whole your process of writing this book, how difficult that was because I get exhausted. I thought writing would get easier as you got older, but it is not. It just gets harder and harder. What was the most difficult part of because you've always had this concept of Vincent Comfrey, Stay a While, and all that. What was the most difficult part of putting this now into a book and executing it?
Believing that I was a writer was the most difficult part. Having the confidence to sit down and pen it and get out of my own head that it's not going to be good enough, that it's going to be grammatically incorrect, like all those things. I had to overcome a lot of that just to even sit down and be confident to write.
Right,
Mm.
right. Well, you did a phenomenal job. I mean,
Thank
Looks
you.
great.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I think it's clever from the concept to the ingredients for life. I think that's great. Just think of going down Whole Foods. If you could just do that and pick out ingredients that could make you exactly the person you wanted to or to heal you and all that. So congratulations on just a wonderful book. The author is Tommi Vincent. The book is called The Table of Life, Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. I want to get on those lists now, Tommi. You said, well, all these women hosting and all this. I feel I'm like, yeah, I said, damn, how come I
We
wasn't
need
at
to
that?
do a jazz one. We need to do a jazz one.
Well, let me know. Yeah, I love to. Oh, well, yeah. Let's work on
No,
that
we
because
could do the The last one I
I love
did, the husband was playing the piano live for everybody in the room. It was amazing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's do that. I mean, I think the listening set where you cooked may have been one of the last because I don't. That was after COVID, correct? Did you
It
think?
was. Was it, or was it before?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
I don't
because
listen.
the last one we did one, and then COVID knocked everything out. But
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to doing another one. And I don't know if I could contract you now. Maybe you say, well, Bill,
Yeah.
but we could do the combination of the jazz listening set, the book party, the book signing,
that
you
would be
know, the
amazing.
music.
Let's
We'll,
do
we'll
it.
we'll plan on it. We'll plan on it. You're
Okay.
the best, Tommy. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Good luck. This is just such an amazing concept, an amazing book, and it takes soul food to another level. You know, it is really nourishing. So thank you so much, and I will see you. We'll see each other soon.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you.
Bill and Jamal. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're the best. That was
Alrighty.
the great Tommi Vincent, and the book is The Table of Life, Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. Man, I'm hungry. I meant to tell her about that. She turned me on to these purple grits.
Purple grits.
Yeah, grits. These grits.
I'm a big grit fan. I love
Oh
grits.
man, you got to get these, man. These purple
Purple
grits.
grits.
Yeah. Text her,
All right.
and ask her about the grits, man. It's unbelievable. It will change your life. You
Really?
know?
I've been cooking grits since I was a teenager.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you got to get these grits, man. I order them from South Carolina.
But they're
They're called
purple grits. Okay, and I'm getting them because I get like I have
in the
Amazon
store.
sending me grits. Like the not the white grits, but the the grain, pure grain, whatever they call them, the
Yeah.
yellow grits. But yeah, I'm sure those purple are next level.
Yeah, the purple grit. They're tremendous.
I'm
I
gonna text
love.
her about that.
Yeah, text them. Ask them about the purple grits.
Mhm.
As Tommy said, we'll throw you all some red meat. I don't know how many Giant fans we have among our listening audience.
Probably a few. We got a New York audience.
Yeah, we all got the red meat you've been asking for.
Right.
You finally got Jackson Dart, so he will make the start in place of Russell Wilson. And I guess I don't know how you feel about that, man. I guess maybe because you get older, the old heads, you think of your old stars, and then when stars of your generation or whatever get benched, and you're like, damn, like a part of you's getting benched, But sports is always about the new. So what do you think about Russell getting benched for young Jackson Dart?
It was just a matter of time.
Right,
It was just too much pressure. A top 10 quarterback was drafted. Russell Wilson was already kind of a table setter in general. Like,
right,
yeah, I think he has a 1 year contract. So it's kind of, we knew this was going to happen. It's just a question of when, and it did kind of happen as soon as possible, right?
right,
I think the soonest anybody was expecting was week 4. Most people had it the week after because they're
right,
playing a lesser team. But there was just, there's just too much. Like the team, I've been saying this all along. The team itself was the issue.
right, right,
The team was not good enough to win, no matter who the quarterback is, and because of that, you're all, once you start losing, there's no reason to play a veteran anymore
right,
that you're not invested in,
right,
right?
right,
And then you have a kid that you are all of a sudden invested in because you drafted him so early. So you kind of knew this is where it was going. I think Dable I really do think he wanted to do it as slowly as possible, let the kid
right,
learn. He seems to genuinely like Russell Wilson based off his comments. Like, he's always
right,
showing support for him, always saying he had confidence in him, even still. And but the New York media, the New York fans, the fans chanting, "We want Dart. You're
right,
0-3. Don't forget his job is on the line."
right,
So if he sits there, doesn't play Dart, and just has a terrible season, more likely he gets fired. Now, if he plays Dart and he connects himself to Dart, attaches himself to Dart, and Dart shows any kind of potential, then maybe they don't want to fire him and ruin Dart's growth process.
Right, but the problem is, and you start off with that. If you listed your top play callers, Dayball and the guy who's called, they're not listed among the top half of play callers in the NFL. So that's part of the problem. It almost doesn't matter who you got. Because remember, we're looking at Daniel Jones now. People are wondering, like, Daniel Jones look like a Johnny Unitas.
He's looking like an all-pro. I looked the other day. He's top five. He's top five, quarterbacks so far in the league so far. So you're right about that. That doesn't look good for Dayball. He came in when he got the Giant job. He had a reputation of being like a quarterback whisperer because he was coaching Josh Allen. And he was there. We don't know what the correlation is, right? But he was there when Josh Allen turned the corner from being raw to a legit, top tier NFL quarterback. So they gave him that credit. Then he comes to the Giants. He did have the good first year, but it wasn't the quarterback. It wasn't Daniel Jones. It was all Saquon Barkley. Right? It was all Saquon, Right. So we don't know really, what kind of credit he deserves for the Josh Allen thing. But you're right. I mean, it's not the play calling hasn't looked good, and even Neighbors, the wide receiver, he's on record as saying, "Hey, it's not the quarterback. It's not the quarterback. It's not the quarterback." He said, "Look at Daniel Jones. It's not the quarterback." So who is it? Who is he saying it is?
That's right. And it ain't me.
It's not him. He don't think it's him. So it's something else that he thinks. Right. And he's talented enough. Like he's a transformational talent. They're already calling him top 5 wide receiver in the league. So I kind of assume he has some understanding of the situation.
And how is he gonna feel, Jamal? Like Sunday, you see all these great quarterbacks. I mean, now you're seeing Justin Herbert come in and say, "Damn, man, what would it be like to play?" A guy like that with a play caller like that,
Right.
Am I going to just be stuck here with this,
Right. Yeah. So, we'll see. And I guess, the Giants and Giants fans are hoping and praying that Dart, becomes, a top tier level quarterback, which is tough because there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league now.
Right.
And we know just because you're top 10 doesn't mean anything. And just because you played well in the preseason doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
Yeah, well, it's great. Well, everybody's great in the preseason.
Yeah, everybody's great. So we're gonna see. And I think it's if I were Dayball, I would have waited at least a week because the Chargers are no joke. So you're putting Dart out there to face one of the top defenses in the league with Jim Harbaugh back. The Chargers, one of the best teams in the league, and you're throwing this kid out there. That's his first game. I don't know.
Unless Harbaugh gets an executive order, saying, because he was, clearly this guy's a supporter of the administration and all that.
What NFL or college coach isn't?
Right. Well, you're right. They're all getting executive order. Take it easy on this kid.
Right.
Don't make him look terrible.
Right.
We joke about it, but I put nothing past.
Some of those executive orders are hollow. It's just talk. Yeah. But I hear you though. I hear you. But you're right. What's the motivation of the people, the other people making decisions? Just like the Jimmy Kimmel thing, how they took up, some stations took them off the air.
Right. Right. Although there's a hue and cry to see him, maybe that may have taken some people by surprise. Wait a minute, there's a whole lot of people who don't want it.
Right.
Anyway. All right. So what? Oh, do you have your black quarterback ranking?
No, I'm gonna do that next week. I'm gonna give it a week, see what guys do this weekend, then reconvene, and give the updated quarterback rankings. Just some other news. Justin Fields seems to be coming back for the Jets. He missed a game of concussion. Tyrod Taylor started in his place. So Justin Fields will probably get to start against Miami. So that's a big start for him.
No more Tyrod Taylor. But
yeah,
we need so we start off season 16 of the 32 two black quarterback stars were black.
Yeah, so now it's 15.
Now it's going to 15. So we're going to need Shedeur to step it up, sometime around November, December, to step up and become a starter for the Browns, so he can bring it back up to 16.
Right, or Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, injury would probably take at this point. For Richardson to go there.
Yeah, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I just hit something. I just hit the wrong button on my thing. It'll take a dramatic injury for them to put that brother back on, man.
Right. So we'll see. And as far as Shedeur, he also he's in third string, so he has someone else he needs to jump. So they got to give the other kid Gabriel. They got to give him a chance first. Then it'll be Shedeur, after that. So
I think once you get to Gabriel, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think of the story that came out that where they were saying that that Baltimore wanted to draft Shedeur before, I forget which round. It was either fourth or earlier in the fifth, and that Dion and Shedeur's camp said they did not want to play there because they didn't want him to back up Lamar for 10 years. What did you think of that?
Well, he definitely would be backing him up for 10 years. Whether that just flows into the.
Well, no one stays anywhere 10 years anymore. So in today's day and age, it's like 2 years, and then you can go somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess it just flows into the narrative about Dion just trying to manipulate this whole thing. Is that true? I don't know, man. I mean, I like to, you like to think, no, they wouldn't do that. But I think all things are possible.
Right.
I think all things are possible. But I don't know, what do you do to make them not draft you? Do you piss all over the interview? I mean, what do you do to not, or do you just tell them straight up, don't draft you? I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, if you tell them, especially if it's a player that, they're not talking about the number one pick in the draft. They're talking about what, fourth or fifth round,
right?
And you get feedback that he doesn't want to be there. What's the point?
There's
no point in drafting him from the team's perspective. So I get that. If they reach out and you get feedback saying, well, nah, we don't really want to be there. Well, okay, fine.
Well, they could have made him Mr. Irrelevant. We're gonna make your ass Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
We're gonna make you the last person drafted. How humiliating would that have been?
Well, Purdy made it. At least to be precedent for him to succeed.
Yeah.
Like Purdy did. But we'll say that, what we in week 4 is. Week 4 is coming up. Still so early in the season. So it's a long, long, long way.
And we're still as we begin to sign off, we're still undecided whether we're going to be there Sunday.
Right.
I mean, particularly you. Well, both of us. I mean, it takes me an hour or something to get there.
Yeah, it takes me about an hour or more.
Yeah, and I remember last Thursday. I mean, that was like a nightmare, man.
And then once I got there, it took me about a half hour to park. Even though in the media lot, you can't find anything.
Yeah, well, you got to get there early, man. I said, when do you people get here?
Well, it was the home opener. It was the Giants' home opener, and I didn't think about that until I was getting close. I was like, oh no, it's the.
And then the people
opener.
are taking up 2 and 3 spots because
throwing footballs, and even where I ended up parking.
Where
I ended up parking because a spot that was half taken, the spot in front of me, the truck had come all the way halfway in, and I'm like, so I was like, forget it, I'm just gonna pull in and park and have my car sticking out. But then some guy was like, oh, let me ask this guy why he's doing that. I'm like, all right, thanks. And he's like, he was saving the spot for someone else, but he backed up.
Then I'm thinking, man, who are these people? I get there, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of a right-wing rally or some shit.
That's the truth. That is the truth. That's the truth.
It's, whew, man. What who thought? So, anything else that we?
Here's one. Before we get out of here, there was college basketball news. I'm a big college basketball guy. college basketball news. Bruce Pearl retires.
Unbelievable.
They were talking about he might want to run for Senate. I think he wants to take Tuberville's place, and I think they have the exact same politics.
Yeah, they do. They do. How?
So to me, I'm one of those guys. Yeah, he had a. Here's the thing, and I hear it from other media guys. He was a good guy when you talk to him or met him. Very kind of funny. But then it's almost like you're not supposed to take into account his political views because that's something different. And it's just to be so pro for a party that wants to do damage to Black people.
Right.
Like I can't not take that into account.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, you were a great coach, but I'm glad you're going because I'm glad you won't continue to coach young a team that's 90% Black athletes.
Then he want to give it to his son. Then he want
I don't know. Obviously, we don't know if that's better or not. Sometimes sons don't take on the same politics as their father, but I don't know. I would assume he does.
The idea of it. The idea that.
Oh, you mean the nepotism part of it?
The nepotism.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, what the hell?
Well, that's a whole other issue.
To me, that is the issue. Like, John Thompson done it. Okay, Ronnie's going to be the my successor. People like.
Well, it's the timing of it that people have called out. Like he waited till there was really and the season starts in like a month or less, right? Or about a month. The season starts, so there's no time. So he did it timing wise on purpose so that he could basically point to who the next coach was. He couldn't leave it
like in pharmaceutical sales or something. I mean,
he was assistant coach recently. I don't know what he started.
It was an irrelevant thing.
Yeah, so
yes, but I guess in this environment, they say all that kind of what do you call it? Privilege.
Mm-hmm.
You can just do anything. If you're white, you could just do anything.
The world is yours, Bill.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Which the whole idea, I guess it gets a dark why this whole thing of the NBA and big time sports must drive these people nuts because you see all these young black people doing well, but I guess they'll say, well, we'll kind of erode that too. We'll find some kind of way to like cut into that. So
right, but it just manifests into what Tommy was saying in terms of not respecting the athlete. So the fan doesn't really respect the athlete anyway. So anytime something happens, they're on management side or there's no care at all for that player as a person or their family. Why? What? Or they don't care about you politically. So why would
they care about you personally? Well, which answers our question about why they can go to University of Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia, and cheer for all these teams that will have all these tons of black players because they don't see them really as human.
Right.
Like it's like they could be looking at fucking, what was the video game? The Madam.
Yeah. No. Yes. They're video game characters, like you said, and it's like it almost gives them it feeds in. It actually the whole sports thing and rooting rooting for them at Alabama having 90% 9% of the guys, 8% of the guys Black on the team. For the fan, it just reinforces what they preach and believe in anyway. That's all they can do. That's Black people aren't smart. Like they're genetically they're not as smart as white people as Charlie Kirk was preaching. So it's just really feeds into their beliefs.
Right. Yeah. So, whew, brother.
Yeah, it's rough out here, but
it's rough out here. All right. Anyway, thank you to Tommi Vincent for publishing a great book, and it was a great interview. And I guess thank you to the Giants for giving us another, like 8 weeks of drama, as we chart just young Justin Dart. I mean, they got San Diego, Philadelphia twice. Mm-hmm. I forgot who else is on their schedule. So Russell, don't put the cleats away just yet.
No, Jameis either.
Jameis
he might get a shot.
Yeah.
The thing with Dart is he likes to run around.
Yeah.
Run around. He likes to run around. So he injury could easily happen, especially for a young kid who probably thinks he can get away with more than he can.
I could just go in there and just got him. Oh boy!
So you better get out of bounds or get down.
Just get down, man. Just live to fight another play.
Thanks to all the listeners listening. You can, of course, get our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, etc. Follow us on social media at BrosPod, on Twitter at BrosPod, on Instagram, Bill Roden on Sports, on Facebook. If you're watching us now on YouTube, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the share button. All those buttons. Make sure you press all those. You could leave us a rating. That'd be great. 5 stars. All that. Keep supporting the show. We appreciate it.
All right. We appreciate you guys. And I don't know. If we're both at the game Sunday, we may do a podcast Sunday off of Jason Dart's debut. It's not black, but it kind of is black.
It's a black story.
It's a black story. One way or the other.
Unfortunately, it's a black story.
It's a black story. All right, everybody. Hang in there. See you next week. And keep praying for all of us.